Hello, duck type people. We're going to do a little video today just talking about spoiler logs because, spoilers, we're going to be doing a spoiler log thing for the weekly. So, spoiler logs are not frequently used, but they are an option on the randomizer. It's just in the top left corner to the left of the frame with all the flags. But what we have here is a text file that comes along with the ROM that you'll be using. This is a second file that the website generates. You'll just download both files at once, and you'll have this text file in your downloads folder as well. For the weekly, you review this before you start your timer. So you can decide your route, you can decide your party, all of that before any of the timer stuff starts. If you're going to reference it during the weekly, do not pause the timer. So you can look around on it all you want during the run. You can, do that. That's fine. In fact, for me, I was actually deleting lines out of it as I was finding things. But once you're actually starting the timer, don't pause it just to look at the spoiler log. So how does this work? You see here, we actually have 3 different columns. This last one is very important. This is requirements. This is going to tell you what do we need in order to get to this particular location where this item is. This can be just generally helpful in terms of, it's kind of a quick reference, right? So you can tell whenever there's nothing in the parentheses that you can just get there. You're not going to require transportation or a turn-in item or anything like that. And there's only going to be 3 of those: King, Princess, and Bicky. Everything else is going to have some sort of requirement. Our next area here is the entrance, the floor, and the source. So the entrance is what location on the overworld you have to go to in order to find the item. The next is the floor. So if we're looking at Marsh Cave Bottom, okay, well, Marsh Cave Bottom is kind of a silly reference here, but we're talking about Marsh Cave. We're talking about the lowest floor. We're talking about the major item. Now, the major is the other word for incentive. So Marsh Cave Major is the incentive chest on Marsh Bottom. And that's going to be our adamant. That's our item in the first column, right? So when you're looking at this section right here, you're going to want to determine what's important. What do you actually need? And so you'll kind of want to walk that back. Well, we're going to need the floater. We don't have Northern Docks on in the flag set this week. So how do I get that? Well, I need to get Canaria Major. That's the incentive chest behind the locked door. Well, I needed the key anyway, so how do I get that? Well, Narek gives me the key. How do I get Narek? Turn in? I need the TNT. Well, here's the TNT. That comes from Astos. How do I get the crown for Astos? That's Ice Cave Major. Well, that tells me I need the canoe. The canoe is coming from Matoya. You see how the logic works here. You kind of have to walk it back until you figure out, all right, how do I get that? Well, we need the canoe sage, which means that we need both the ship and the canal, because we know that the canoe is locked behind the canoe sage. So, where's our canal? Oh, the princess has it. Where's our ship? Bicky has it. Cool. That gives us the whole logic chain all the way back. So we're going to do our Temple of Fiends to talk to the princess. We're going to talk to Bicky to get the ship. We're going to go out to the canoe sage to get the crystal, turn the crystal into Matoya to get the canoe. Then we can do ice to get our crown, I believe that was, and so on, right? So you build out your route prior to starting the seed. And again, you don't start the timer until you've actually gone onto the map. This is going to be in the written instructions as well. So you're going to be able to determine your entire route before you start. And if you need to put that in a different text file, that's fine. If you want to move things around on the spoiler log itself, that's fine. I kind of determine what I want before I even start up the ROM, right? Because you can tell a lot about what you want just from here. So that's the basics of kind of the important part, right? Like this is where all the key items are. You can see here you get all the ribbons. General note on chest numbers. Final Fantasy I's chest labeling is garbage. It's another one of those examples of damn you, Nasir. And so you kind of just have to guess at what these chests are. But the easiest way to think about it is, generally speaking, the chests are going to be, well, you're going to have the location floor here. So like Gurgu Volcano 2, well, that's the armory floor. Without going into the specifics of the numbering, you can just know, oh, if it's on the armory floor, well, there's 4 chests on the right, there's 2 on the top left, and then there's the rest of them in the armory, right? So just keep that in mind as you look at these numbers. Sky Palace 29, well, that's on the 3rd floor. That's top floor of Sky with chests. So it's going to be right, top, or left. You know, you can kind of figure it out from there. But there's not going to be a lot of these where it's just going to give you a chest number, because it's only looking at the important items. So Ice Cave 9, well, that's on Ice Cave 5 as a floor. That means that it's the bottom. It's the drop-down floor. That's the gist of that. All right. Next part, we get our weapons. And we can see, before we look at anything else, we actually get the blurses right up front. So when I see Masmu plus 5 at the bottom of this list, I'm very interested in this Masa. And when I look back up here, the Masa is in the list. You can determine exactly what weapons you want in your planning. You can actually find them in the log too, and we'll show that in a little bit here. Armor, again, we can see all of the pluses and minuses, so we can kind of tell what gear we want. The main thing that I'm going to be looking at here is pro ring. I mean, you don't really care about the pro rings plus or minus, but it's nice to know. I want to know what the golds are. They're +1s, which is nice. You get the actual stats too, so that's helpful. Our next section is shops. So, the order that they appear in here is the order they appear in the shops. Why do I say that? Well, that's pretty important when you get down to the magic section. So, if we're looking in Canaria weapons, well, we've got pretty much trash there, right? So, like, we don't really care about the weapons in here. And seeing that the Masa was available in +5, I don't really care about weapon shops. I'm just going to get that Masa on whatever my melee carry is. But let's look down at armor real quick. And we can see, oh, our pro ring is in Melmond. That's pretty handy. That's not a bad armor shop to get to. Crescent Lake has our gold +1. I'm very interested in those. Now, we don't have the price. That kind of stinks, but at least you know where the item is. Now, as I said, the slot in the shop is represented in the order that it shows up in the spoiler log. So, Canaria White Magic 1, Aelid is slot 1, Ruse is slot 2, Fade is slot 3. Suddenly, the Red Mage looks very appealing, right? And so you can go through and figure out, oh, Cure 4, well, that's level 3 slot 1. Also, Knight learnable, Red Mage learnable. And that goes all the way through all the magic. Now, one thing to note here, I don't know why, but level 4 magic shows up separated. So here's level 3, and then it goes to level 5, level 6, level 4, and then we get back to rational order with Gaia 7 and 8, Onrak 7, Lefane 8. It all lines up eventually. Now, if we want to get fancy, so these are shops. We don't care about these because what we're looking at here is the logic of where items are placed in chests. And this is going to be the rest of the spoiler log. I generally don't use this. However, this will tell you where things are. And again, it will tell you if there's a requirement. Well, the only real requirement it's ever going to tell you is the key. So, for example, this treasure chest with 20,000 gold in it requires the key. It's in Sea Shrine. That means that it is TFC. So, I'm not, again, really looking at this terribly hard. However, you can do some things with this. So, for example, if I want to know where the XCal is, I can put in XCal. And, oh, it's in Ordeals. See, when I searched for it, it showed up here. So I know it's in one of the Ordeals treasure chests just from that. You can do that with any of the items that show up at all. Like anything that's in the treasure pool will show up this way. So again, keep that in mind in terms of what you're thinking as far as your planning of the route. If you really want a certain item, you can figure out where it's at. Here's a great example. This is kind of funny. Dragon armor is in the Temple of Fiends Revisited. So it's in one of the chests in Topher. Not Toph, Topher. Now that's kind of, awkward, generally speaking, but we have a short Topher for this weekly. It's fine. If you really want it, you can get it. But you can use the spoiler log to locate anything you want, pre-plan your party, plan your entire route. And what I was doing as I was vetting the seed tonight is, well, I knew that I wanted the Masa, which meant that I didn't really care about the Vorpal. So I just triple click the line to highlight the whole thing, delete the line. Well, I got the ship, so I'm going to delete Bicky off of there. I got the slab from the king, I'm going to delete that. And go through this and shorten it up and make sure that all of the relevant things stay on there. Because once I found it, it's no longer relevant. That also allows me to chase down things that are important, as we're looking like, all right, the ruby comes from the smith. Well, we need the adamant for that, which is Marsh Major. What does the Titan give us? The rod. So we do need that, that sort of thing. Anyway, just wanted to give a little rundown. I'm going to put this onto the YouTube so that you have access to this. It's, again, not a common thing that we put out the spoiler logs for races. It's, something that might show up in Fall League, for instance. But I wanted to have a little fun with something new and not repeat stuff or pre-peat in terms of stuff that we're going to be covering in the Duck Derby. So anyway, with that, I've been Saracen. I hope you have a fantastic night. See y'all later.